Liam. You have no shame. You've even learned to fake an injury. As soon as I stepped out of the hospital, I heard Shinching's furious screams. Ryan was just joking around. He only hit you a few times with his car. And you're making such a big deal out of it. Even coming to the hospital. You're such a petty, low-life dog. You're really pathetic. I looked at the woman I had loved for 7 years with cold eyes. I couldn't help but laugh sarcastically. This was the woman I had risked my life to protect. Yet after I lost my leg, she didn't even glance at me. Every word she spoke was either defending another man or accusing me of being unreasonable. If she cared about me at all, she would have noticed my arm, wrapped in bandages and missing a significant portion. So, you came here today just to say all this? I walked past her and continued on my way. Shen Qingqing's expression hardened. And her tone grew angrier. What kind of attitude is that? Try giving me the cold shoulder again. It's all because you pretended to be sick. Scaring Ryan into a depressive episode. You know he's fragile, couldn't you have been more considerate? She grabbed my arm and pressed her fingers hard into my wound. The pain made me break out in a cold sweat. Tonight, you'll cook a big meal at home and apologize to Ryan. You caused his depression to flare up. If he doesn't forgive you, I'll report you for intentional injury. Without another word, she shoved me into the passenger seat. The car was filled with the overpowering scent of cheap perfume, making me dizzy. This scent was all too familiar. It was Ryan's favorite. I'll sit in the back. I pinched my nose, curled up in the back seat, and closed my eyes to rest. The car was deathly quiet. Seeing my haggard face and the bandage wrapped around my arm, Shen Qingqing's eyes flickered with conflict. She hesitated several times. Before she could speak, a sticky object fell at my feet. We both looked down. It was a used condom. Shen Qingqing flew into a rage. Her voice sharp. Liam. Are you disgusting? Can't you clean up after yourself? What am I supposed to do if someone sees this? You don't respect me at all. I suppressed my nausea and wiped my shoes with a disinfectant wipe. My voice was calm. My memory must be failing me. I don't remember anything happening in the car. Hearing this, Shen Qingqing seemed to think of something. Her eyes darting around nervously. She carefully stuffed it into her pocket. Her tone evasive. I lent the car to my best friend earlier. It must have been their prank. Watching me replace the disinfectant wipes one by one to wipe the shoe. She sneered. You have a dedicated passenger seat and you're sitting here cleaning. You deserve it. I looked up and saw the words, husband's exclusive seat, stuck on the passenger side, which felt especially jarring. In the past, every time Shen Qingqing picked me up, she would fill the passenger dashboard with homemade desserts. She called it, every day I see you is a sweet day. I have OCD. So she insisted no one else was allowed in the car. She even stuffed the 99 love letters she had written to me into the seats, making others think twice about getting close. But the meaning of a promise is to be broken. Ryan's appearance shattered all her principles. He said he was timid and socially anxious. So Shen Qingqing drove him around 24/7. He said his depression would flare up when he was in a bad mood. Shen Qingqing tied me to the side of the road, had him drive toward me and slam on the brakes, seeking a thrill. My palms were crushed, and I begged Shen Qingqing to save me. She and Ryan laughed at me in the car, calling me a dead dog, then embraced and kissed passionately. I was amputated and broke down, seeking death. But I saw the footage from the car's dashcam sync to my phone. She was setting off fireworks in the wilderness to celebrate Ryan's birthday. Later, in the passenger seat that had once been mine, she clapped for love. From that day on, I no longer wanted that seat. And I no longer wanted Shen Qingqing either. I returned home at 11:30 p.m. Shen Qingqing rushed into the bedroom and locked the door as if to keep out a thief. Ryan had once said that thinking about how close Shen Qingqing and I were made him depressed. That night, she kicked me out of the bedroom. We argued. And she threw my belongings out the door like trash. You're a cold-blooded beast. Are you satisfied only after driving Ryan to his death? He's already so pitiful. Why do you always hurt him? With no choice, I retreated to the study. The next day, I heard Shen Qingqing fall in the bedroom and cry hysterically. After 7 years of marriage, I couldn't just ignore her. But when I burst into the room, worried sick, a vase flew at my head, and Shen Qingqing's hysterical screams filled the air. Liam, you've let me down so much. I should never have trusted you. Ryan told me to test you. And you've shown your true colors. He was right. You're a thug. A beast who only thinks with your lower half. My forehead was covered in blood as I listened to her scream at me. She even threatened to report me for rape if I dared to approach the bedroom again. Her phone was still on video call. I clearly saw Ryan's smug grin and his middle finger raised in defiance. From that moment on, there was no trace of me left in the master bedroom. Qingqing Chloe. Don't get angry with Liam. Sure enough. Shortly after Shen Qingqing disappeared, the sound of their video call resumed. He pretended to be injured to get you to care about him more. After all, his parents abandoned him and immigrated overseas. I've forgiven him for scaring me into thinking I had depression. I can't hold a grudge against an orphan who's begging for food. Can I? I had no interest in listening to their sweet talk. I turned around and went back to the study, dialing my father's phone. Sweetheart, you've agreed to immigrate? My father's voice was excited and full of joy. He and my mother had urged me many times to go abroad to inherit the family business. But Shen Qingqing said she couldn't get used to the food abroad. So I kept putting it off. Over 7 years. I gave up my career and my elderly parents to care for her wholeheartedly. All I got in return was a disabled right hand and a broken marriage. Now, I'm letting go of everything and planning to rebuild my life. The immigration application has been approved. I sent the screenshot to my father. The flight is in 3 days. I've booked it. After saying that, I heard Shen Qingqing's suspicious voice behind me. What did you book? I hung up the phone and lied calmly. A restaurant. I've always wanted to go there. She didn't say anything, but instead took out a bundle of pomelo leaves. After leaving the hospital, we need to ward off the bad luck. She said this while patting me on the back. I felt a bit dazed. Every time I was discharged from the hospital, she would use the leaves to sweep away the bad luck. While sweeping, she would cry and say, "This is the last time. My dear husband must take care of himself. If you get sick, I'll take it for you." But everything changed 6 months ago when Ryan appeared. I clung to this moment of tenderness, and my eyes welled up with tears. Seeing me like this, Shen Qingqing's eyes flashed with concern. Just as she was about to speak, her phone rang. It was Ryan calling. His voice was sweet and seductive, saying he was too tired to dry off after his bath. He also hinted that if a kind sister could help him put on his underwear, he would repay her with his body. Splash! The yuzu leaves were thrown all over me. Shen Qingqing grabbed the car keys and ran out with a spring in her step. Hearing the heavy slam of the door, I picked up the leaves and took down the wedding photo. I threw everything into the yard and set it on fire. After packing my luggage, I fell asleep in a daze. Shen Qingqing returned the next morning with breakfast. Did the internet go out last night? I knew why she asked. In the past, whenever she stayed out all night, I would worry and keep calling her. Yesterday, not even a single concerned message, which made her feel uneasy. The internet wasn't down. I replied calmly. Liam, are you even a man? Chloe stayed out all night at another man's house. And you didn't even worry? Do you even care about me at all? Her voice was angry, but I saw a hint of anxiety in her eyes. I believe you're just friends. I spoke calmly. Even if you slept together, nothing would happen. Shen Qingqing was speechless, her face turning red. These were the exact words she had said to me countless times. Yet here they were coming from my mouth. Stop being such a big man. Eat your breakfast. She pushed the breakfast in front of me with a cold expression. I opened the packaging. The 9-grid container had only one shrimp dumpling, with tooth marks on it. Seeing me not move, Shen Qingqing frowned. You have a stomach condition. Not eating in the morning will give you a stomachache. I'm allergic to seafood. You've known me for 7 years and still don't know? Shen Qingqing fell silent for a moment. With an impatient expression, she said, Stop being so dramatic. If you don't want to eat, don't. A few minutes later, I saw Ryan's WeChat moments. Chloe is so kind. Buying me a heartfelt 9-grid breakfast this early in the morning. I'm worried I'll gain weight. Is Chloe trying to fatten me up? Sniff. When Shinchingching returned from throwing out the trash, she glanced at the room and frowned. Did you clean up? The house feels empty. Is there anything you need to buy? Let me know when you're done. And I'll reimburse you. I brushed it off casually, nothing. This apartment is in my name. And I plan to sell it after the divorce. Any more investment would be a waste. Shinchingching slammed the table and stood up. Her expression cold and harsh. Enough. Stop being so passive-aggressive. I just forgot you're allergic. Is it really worth getting so worked up over? Can't you learn from Ryan and be more generous? Like a man? I didn't even feel like explaining. So I just stayed silent. She sneered. Look at yourself. You're acting like a bitter woman. Making a scene. It's disgusting. I'm staying at Ryan's place tonight. You better reflect on your mistakes. With that, Shinchingching walked out. In the past, whenever we had a Cold War, I was always the one to make the first move. I even knelt down begging for her forgiveness. Humiliating myself to the extreme. Now, I really don't care anymore. Shinchingching spent the entire day staring at her phone, but didn't receive a single message from me. In the evening, I drafted the divorce agreement with my lawyer. Suddenly, I received a call from Shinchingching. Her voice was icy. Where are you? Outside. What nonsense. Who gave you the right to not come home at this hour? Send me your location, I'll come pick you up. I glanced at the pitch-black night and realized it would be hard to hail a taxi. But after I sent her my location, she didn't show up for 2 hours. I opened Ryan's social media feed and saw the post about his depression relapse. When I returned home, Shinchingching and Ryan were there. They had been hugging for a while before noticing me standing at the door. Shinchingching's eyes flashed with obvious disappointment as she glared at me. Liam, this is all your fault. You disappeared all day. And Ryan was worried you'd have a depression episode. Do you know how much he suffered? She walked over and slapped me across the face. Can't you be more considerate? Stop hurting people. Apologize to Ryan right now. Or I'll never forgive you. Behind her, Ryan smirked at me. My wound hurt. And I just wanted to go back to my room to rest. Plus, I was leaving the country in a day. And nothing mattered to me anymore. I nodded half-heartedly. I'm sorry. Is that enough? But Shinchingching was even angrier. Liam, do you have any shame left? He hit you. And you're apologizing to him? Are you a coward? How pathetic. Her eyes were fixed on my face, trying to catch any sign of emotion. In the past, whenever I met Ryan, we would always end up in a huge fight. Shinchingching would always take Ryan's side, beating and scolding me. She even threatened to divorce me, forcing me to admit my mistakes. The two of them stood there, looking down on me, enjoying my humiliation. But today, I was unusually calm, making her feel increasingly anxious. I calmly walked past her and returned to the study. Shinchingching's expression clearly showed panic. Liam, why aren't you angry? She then bit her lip and sat in Ryan's lap. I'll sleep with him tonight. Go prepare the safety supplies for us. Seeing that I was really going to open the drawer, she grabbed my arm. Her voice trembled. Husband. I interrupted her, my expression calm. Besides that, did you prepare anything else? Shinchingching stared at me blankly. Then her eyes suddenly welled up with tears. The next morning, when I opened the door, I saw Shinchingching looking haggard, sitting in front of my door. Liam, we need to talk. Your thoughts are off track. I can't let you keep making the same mistake. She said she had stayed awake all night at my door, helped me contact a psychiatrist, and wanted to take me for treatment. I waved her off. No need. Shinchingching's expression froze. Are you still angry? Because of breakfast yesterday? I didn't feel like talking to her. There's nothing to talk about between us. The woman stared at me blankly, reaching out to hug me. But a muffled cry came from behind me. Chloe. I feel so terrible. Ryan was rolling on the ground, clutching his chest. My depression is acting up. I feel like I'll kill myself in 10 minutes. Shen Qingqing's expression changed, and she immediately picked him up and rushed him to the hospital. My flight was tonight. In the morning, I handed over the evidence of Shen Qingqing's infidelity during our marriage to the lawyer. The lawyer assured me that with this evidence, we didn't need both parties' consent to dissolve the marriage. I also handed over the car surveillance footage of Ryan being run over and made it clear that I refused to settle. Over the years, to maintain the marriage, I had endured humiliation and begged humbly in front of Shen Qingqing. I gave her my dignity to trample on, just for a single glance of mercy from her, to the point where she seemed to have forgotten my true nature. I am not someone who takes advantage of others. An eye for an eye is my life principle. Now that love no longer blinds me, it is time to settle the score. Everyone who has hurt me will pay the price. At noon, I listed the house for sale at half price through an agent. A buyer was found quickly, and they paid the deposit. With 8.5 hours left before the flight, I went to the hospital to change my bandages. Liam? What are you doing? Shen Qingqing's voice echoed behind me. I turned to look, and Ryan was sitting on Shen Qingqing's lap, enjoying the fruit she was feeding him. What are you doing at the hospital? Are you following me? Shen Qingqing's face darkened. You need to see a psychiatrist. You're a psychopath. I remained indifferent. I'm here to change my bandages. At that moment, Ryan seemed to notice me and stumbled to his feet. Brother-in-law, don't be angry with Qingqing. It's my fault. He clutched his chest and pretended to cough. There's nothing between me and Qingqing. Don't misunderstand. Even if you're angry with me, you shouldn't pretend to be injured to deceive Qingqing's feelings. Shen Qingqing hugged Ryan in her arms and gently stroked his head. Little fool. Don't bother explaining to this kind of person. He's just ungrateful for what he has. After calming Ryan down, the woman wiped the smile off her face and glared coldly at me. Liam, I'm so disappointed in you. You pretended to be injured to provoke Ryan. And now you're following me. With such a despicable character. I must have been blind to marry you. As she spoke, she suddenly stood up and grabbed my wound. I've always spared your face. Since you don't want it, don't blame me. You like to act, don't you? Today I'll expose your lies and let everyone see what kind of dog you are. Saying this, she raised my arm, wrapped in bandages, and slammed it against the wall. Let me see you pretend to be injured now. Let me see you morally blackmail Ryan again. Shen Qingqing's voice suddenly choked up. The bandages tore apart, revealing a purple-black, wrinkled, stitched-together stump. The wound suddenly burst open, staining the ground red with blood. Shen Qingqing's eyes froze on the glaring red. How? How could this happen? Where's your hand? Where's your hand? Where did your hand go? My voice was emotionless as I glanced at Ryan's pale face. You should ask him. Impossible. It was just a joke. How could it be so serious? Shen Qingqing's voice trembled. Ryan clearly said it was just a superficial wound. You're so badly injured. Why didn't you tell me? Do you even consider me your wife? I hurriedly changed the bandage, unwilling to waste time arguing with her. But I had lost too much blood. And as I turned around, everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Shen Qingqing was dozing by my side, looking at the re-bandaged severed limb. The pent-up grievances, anger, and shame I had been suppressing over the past few days erupted. I could no longer hold back, and tears streamed down my face. Whether I wanted to admit it or not, for the rest of my life, I would always be a monster with a missing limb. Perhaps the noise had woken Shen Qingqing, who looked up with a surprised expression. She then knelt down with a worried expression. Husband, I'm sorry. I didn't realize your injuries were so severe. She looked at me anxiously, her eyes filled with guilt. Ryan went too far this time. But he definitely didn't mean it. Don't worry. I'll make him apologize to you. I remained silent. She was about to speak again when her phone suddenly rang. It was Ryan's ringtone. Shen Qingqing frowned and hung up. But the calls kept coming. I could tell she was restless. Wanting to answer but hesitating. Glancing at my face repeatedly. Answer it. Maybe something really happened. I had a hunch about what was going on. Sure enough. As soon as she answered. Sobbing could be heard on the other end. This time. It wasn't fake crying. Liam. That bastard. He's suing me for intentional injury. Ching Ching. Save me. I'm so anxious right now. In 20 minutes. My depression will flare up. And I'll really kill myself. Shen Qingqing's face turned pale. And she promised to be there immediately. When she looked at me again. Her eyes were filled with blame. Liam. Are you crazy? He was just joking. Can't you just let it go? Ryan has depression. How could you bear to send him to jail? He'll be unhappy. Before leaving. Shen Qingqing ordered. Write a statement of forgiveness and send it to Ryan's house. Tonight. The three of us will have dinner. And this matter will be settled. I looked at her coldly as she disappeared from sight. Shen Qingqing spent 3 days comforting Ryan at his house. By the time the police came to take Ryan away, I hadn't shown up. She rushed home. Furious. Demanding an explanation from me. But the next moment, her expression changed drastically. A stranger was staring at her with a menacing gaze. Who are you looking for? Shen Qingqing's head spun. And she felt a sudden panic. This is my house. Who are you? Where's Liam? She tried to rush inside. But the man slapped her to the ground. This is the house I just bought. The man growled menacingly. No matter what grudge you have with the previous owner. Daring to cause trouble in my house. I'll break your legs. Shen Qingqing was speechless. From the time they started dating to getting married. She had lived in this house for many years. And now, all traces of her were erased. Replaced with unfamiliar decorations. Nonsense. I was still living here 3 days ago. How could you just sell it? You must have colluded with Liam. Make him come out and sign a reconciliation agreement with me. The man spat contemptuously. Crazy woman. Then he called the property management and had Shen Qingqing thrown out of the compound. Shen Qingqing was speechless. She couldn't accept this reality. Liam. There's a limit to competing for attention. She called me. But the phone kept showing that the other party was busy. She also sent me a message on WeChat. But all she received was a red exclamation mark. You blocked me. Liam. How dare you? Recalling my unusual behavior over the past few days. Her pupils suddenly contracted. A sense of panic overwhelmed her. As if she had lost control. She pulled at her hair and paced back and forth in front of the community gate. Then thought of something and started calling my friends. Without exception. All of them had blocked her. This made Shen Qingqing's panic even more intense. And her hands and feet began to tremble. Finally. Someone answered the call. But before she could speak. The other end unleashed a torrent of abuse. You have the nerve to contact Liam? Thank goodness he immigrated. Otherwise. You'd have killed him by now. You ungrateful beast. You'll never see him again in this lifetime. May you and your lover live happily ever after and die young. Clang. Shen Qingqing's legs gave out. And she collapsed to the ground. Immigrate? Liam left? He doesn't want me anymore. No. I didn't give him permission. Who gave him the right to leave me? Shen Qingqing screamed hysterically. As if trying to convince herself. Her friend sneered. Liam spoiled you rotten. And you actually started thinking you were a queen? He's wanted to be a marksman since he was a child. But you ruined his hands for a green tea guy. His dreams were shattered by the person he loved most. Do you know how desperate he is? Do you know how many times he tried to kill himself in the past few days? The friend hung up angrily. Shen Qingqing called back. But the number had been blocked. Meanwhile, I was lying on a beach across the ocean. Enjoying the sun. Listening to my friend rant about Shen Qingqing's shamelessness. I smiled indifferently. She's none of our business. Don't bother with her. Homeless. Shen Qingqing had no choice but to stay in a hotel. That night, she fell ill with a high fever. Liam. I'm thirsty. I want some water. Liam. I feel so bad. Liam. After calling out for a while. No one responded. Shen Qingqing suddenly remembered that I had already left the country. A sharp pain pierced her heart, making it hard to breathe. Helpless. She curled up in the corner and kept calling my number over and over. In that moment, a wave of regret washed over her. If Liam were still here, he wouldn't let me suffer like this. Liam, please come back. I can't live without you, she muttered to herself. Then an email popped up. It was a notice about the division of marital assets. Not only was she being left with nothing, but she also had to reimburse all the expenses she had incurred for Ryan over the years. Shen Qingqing's face turned pale. Liam, you're a heartless beast. She angrily threw her phone on the ground. I gave you 7 years of my youth. And you have the nerve to leave me with nothing. You're making a big deal out of a small matter. Do you even have any humanity left? She used someone else's phone to call me. Liam, enough is enough. Do you think immigrating will sever our ties? We're legally married. And Australia recognizes it. Her tone was defiant and commanding as always. I want to see you at the hotel tomorrow morning. I can overlook your recent unreasonable behavior. I'm giving you an out, don't be ungrateful and come back. I was so angry I laughed. Shen Qingqing. We're no longer husband and wife. The woman furrowed her brows. Say that again if you dare. I spoke calmly. You cheated on me during our marriage and instigated Ryan to intentionally harm me. That's illegal. I don't need your consent. Filing for divorce will dissolve our marriage. There was a long silence on the other end, as if something had fallen to the ground. Liam, you're just scaring me, right? Shen Qingqing's voice trembled. How could you leave me? You're a cripple. Who else would want you besides me? You're just trying to provoke me to make me love you more. That's it. I didn't bother listening to her self-delusions. The court summons should be arriving soon. I hope you and Ryan get assigned to a couple's cell. After saying that, I hung up and blocked her. Shen Qingqing kept calling my name, trying to say something, but I couldn't hear her anymore. Upon arriving in Australia, it took me a week to adjust to the time difference. Just as I was getting used to the pace here, my father couldn't wait to push me into the company and launch the succession plan. Without the emotional turmoil of love, I threw myself into my career. My work efficiency skyrocketed. After securing 2 major orders in one go, the company's senior executives praised me highly. They envied my father and praised him for having a capable successor. Although the days of working tirelessly were busy, they also made me feel fulfilled. I no longer longed for the time I spent with Shen Qingqing. All the past experiences, whether bitter or sweet, had turned into colorful bubbles, dissipating in the fading wind. But I never expected that a week later, Shen Qingqing would suddenly appear before me. Shen Qingqing stood in my backyard, looking disheveled and exhausted. I was about to head to the shooting club for training and ignored her, trying to go around her. But she blocked my path. She grabbed my arm, her gaze dark. Have you had enough of this? If you're done, come back with me. I laughed in anger, shaking off her hand. Shen Qingqing, can't you understand what I'm saying? We're already divorced. The woman smiled sarcastically. Liam, can you stop pretending? You knew Ryan had depression, yet you deliberately provoked him to have an episode. Every time he needed my care, you blocked me and argued with me, causing him pain. This time, you even plotted to frame him and send him to prison. I've tolerated you for 7 years out of consideration for our relationship. What more do you want? I'm ordering you to come back to the country with me right now. Shen Qingqing grabbed my collar. Our eyes locked. She suddenly felt a pang in her heart. There was no trace of the love I once felt in my eyes, only coldness and disgust. I took 2 steps back, creating some distance. I didn't even feel like arguing with her anymore. I walked forward on my own, my voice flat. Shen Qingqing, I don't want you anymore. There was no heated argument or empty threats. Watching me turn away calmly, as if I were a stranger passing by. This time, Shen Qingqing's carefully maintained composure finally cracked. Her face turned pale, and her body trembled. Husband. She stumbled forward, grabbing onto my car door with both hands. Liam, you can't do this to me. Have you forgotten the vows we made at the wedding? We were supposed to be each other's one and only. You can't go back on your word. I looked at her coldly. Let go. Shen Qingqing's expression grew even more desperate. Her voice trembling with tears. We've been together for 7 years. How can you just leave like this? This isn't fair to me. I saved your life. You can't be ungrateful. My thoughts flash back to the day we first met. I was being threatened by a drunk man with a knife. And Shen Qingqing came to my rescue, leaving a knife scar on her forearm. During our relationship, she would point to the scar every day and boast about it. She said it was a medal for charging into danger for love. But later, it became the shackle she used to control me. Shen Qingqing rolled up her sleeve. But her face turned pale in an instant. The original scar had been washed away, replaced by a row of vibrant tattooed words. Qingqing Ryan. Forever and ever. No. It's not like that. Shen Qingqing broke down crying, kneeling on the ground and frantically tearing at the skin on her forearm. It was just a prank from a dare. It doesn't count. Wipe it off. Quickly wipe it off. It's dirty. I drove away. In the rearview mirror, Shen Qingqing was kneeling on the ground. Her white dress stained with blood. The piece of skin with the tattoo was torn off by her and discarded like trash. Upon arriving at the shooting club, my beautiful coach had been waiting for me for some time. I had once believed that the disability in my right hand would prevent me from pursuing my shooting dream. However, Wendy's appearance and encouragement reignited my confidence. I decided to switch to left-handed shooting and start from scratch. Just as we were chatting and laughing, Shen Qingqing suddenly burst in. You slut! Stay away from my husband! She then charged forward, raising her hand to strike Wendy. Enough! I instinctively shielded Wendy behind me. Shen Qingqing looked at me with a hurt expression. Liam, you've cheated on me. Haven't you? You're a scumbag. Because this slut divorced me. Do you think you deserve my 7 years of youth? Before I could defend myself, Shen Qingqing muttered to herself. You're jealous that I'm close to Ryan. Aren't you? You're just getting back at me. If you get rid of her, I promise I'll never see Ryan again. I can use my connections to have him killed in prison. And he'll never bother us again. She stepped forward and pulled me, pleading. Husband, let's go home. Let's have a child and live a good life. I couldn't bear her slandering my friend to my face. I pushed her away forcefully. Shen Qingqing, can you just get out of here? Are you annoying or what? She stood there dumbfounded for a moment. Then she remembered that this was the exact phrase she had often said to me when she was on dates with Ryan. In an instant, the woman knelt on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. I thought I would never see Shen Qingqing again. But she clung to me like glue, following me wherever I went. Rose bouquets and homemade pastries kept appearing at my doorstep. I refused to accept any of them, throwing them all into the trash. Shen Qingqing just looked at me with hurt eyes, then continued sending gifts the next day. Even every night, she would stand outside my window, holding a banner to apologize. She arranged candles into the shape of a heart to confess her feelings to me. I ignored it all. But she remained undeterred, showing no signs of giving up. This went on for half a month, until I was at my wit's end. Then Shen Qingqing suddenly disappeared. I heard from friends back home that Ryan's case of intentional injury was being formally tried. Shen Qingqing was taken back to China as a suspect for investigation. At the same time, I received a notice from a lawyer in China. I was told to appear in court as the plaintiff. It was time to put an end to the past. In court, I saw Shen Qingqing and Ryan again. They were both wearing prison uniforms. No longer the glamorous people they once were. As soon as he saw me, Ryan became emotional and shouted, Liam, I order you to drop the charges. Or else I'll make Qingqing never speak to you again. Shen Qingqing, standing beside him, remained silent, as if resigned to her fate. In court, the two who once shared such deep feelings were now completely transformed. They desperately tried to shift the blame onto each other. By the end, they were shouting insults at each other. They knew each other too well, and knew exactly which words would hurt the other the most. By the time they finished, they seemed like sworn enemies. exposing each other's crimes. Ryan, besides hitting me, was involved in 3 hit-and-run accidents, one of which resulted in death. Shen Qingqing embezzled public funds and evaded taxes. Under the combined charges, Ryan was sentenced to life imprisonment. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. Shen Qingqing was sentenced to 5 years. At the end, Shen Qingqing insisted on seeing me one last time. Liam, whether you believe me or not, I truly love you. Her face was haggard, and she spoke through tears. I have loved only you from the very beginning. But I was too insecure. You come from a good family, are capable, and loyal in love. No matter how hard I tried, I felt I wasn't good enough for you. I was afraid you would leave me one day. So I used Ryan to hurt you and make you suffer. I made you beg me to stay over and over again so I could feel secure. She looked at my disabled right hand. Her voice choked with emotion. I thought that if you were disabled, you'd depend on me and couldn't live without me. So that's why I didn't save you that day. I was wrong. Liam. It turns out I already had all your love. But I was the one who pushed you away. By the end, Shen Qingqing was sobbing uncontrollably. I could tell she was truly repentant. But I couldn't forgive her. She begged to hear my voice one last time. But I said nothing and turned to leave. I still had a long life ahead of me, with a career and dreams to pursue. Someone who had nothing to do with me didn't deserve my time. 3 years later, my career was stable. My parents had completely handed over control to me, and the 2 elderly people were living a happy retirement life. Wendy and I had confirmed our relationship. With her support, I registered for the 10-meter air rifle event at the Paralympic Games under the club's name. Standing on the stage I had always dreamed of. My heart was unusually calm. Perhaps it was Shen Qingqing's endless torment that had hardened my heart. My performance was unexpectedly outstanding, and I won the silver medal. Due to my right-hand disability, I kept it in my pocket. The sideways, one-handed shooting posture had a relaxed, almost assassin-like elegance. This moment immediately made me trend on social media. Some netizens joked that I had taken on a side job while on an assassination mission and casually won the silver medal. Don't ask why I didn't win the gold medal. The answer is simple: the employer didn't pay enough. I just laughed it off. At the award ceremony, the moment I kissed Wendy sealed our love, spreading across the globe. I gently hung the medal around her neck as a token of our commitment. Later, I heard from friends back home. Shen Qingqing saw the broadcast in prison and lost control of her emotions. She knelt in front of the TV, sobbing uncontrollably, repeating my name over and over. She cried until she fainted and had to be taken away for emergency treatment. After the competition, Wendy and I got married. In a small town by the Mississippi River. In a quaint and solemn church. We exchanged rings in front of the priest. We made a vow to spend the rest of our lives together. I never expected to hear news about Ryan at the wedding. After entering prison, he was frequently bullied by fellow inmates. Originally pretending to have depression, he had now genuinely developed a mental illness. However, he accidentally overheard from a fellow inmate that the person who had bullied him was someone Shen Qingqing had intentionally arranged before she was imprisoned. The purpose was to vent her anger toward her husband. He couldn't bear the blow and completely lost his mind. During a work release program, he swallowed stones and committed suicide. He had been dead for half a year. Listening to my friends' gossip, I felt neither sad nor happy. Suddenly, I realized I hadn't thought about Shen Qingqing and Ryan in a long time. The 7 years of my marriage had gradually faded, as if it were just a fragmented dream. I heard news about Shen Qingqing again 2 years after my wedding. At the time, I was traveling around the world with Wendy. The phone rang, and it was Shen Qingqing's hoarse voice. Liam, do you love me? I felt a wave of nausea. Shen Qingqing suddenly pleaded. Please. Liam. Please say you love me. This is really important. Liam. Just say you love me. Please. I hung up the phone immediately. Shortly after, I received a news alert. A boat that had smuggled people from China to Australia encountered a storm at sea. The only woman with a chance of survival voluntarily gave up her life. She was buried at sea. The ship's surveillance footage showed a thin, hunchbacked woman crying and screaming into her phone. When she died, she was clutching a yellowed photo. It was my wedding photo with Shin. I silently swiped away the news feed, feeling nothing. Honey, it's time to board. Up ahead. Wendy waved at me while hugging a large teddy bear. I smiled warmly and closed my phone. I ran over to wrap my arms around her waist and boarded the next leg of our journey.